Hey, good evening, all of y'all out there in YouTube world. This is Duran here, a little off the cuff. I just wanted to share some of my thoughts regarding some of our recent events and going on in the world. Obviously, the big news this week was the sudden death of basketball star Kobe Bryant. Also, you've got the coronavirus that's been spreading. So I just wanted to touch on those topics in brief as much as possible. I didn't want to jump right out and make early speculations, even though in my gut I had an intuition as to what was going on. Something seemed off about helicopter crash like that. So there's a lot of other content that's been posted, that touches on different elements, predictive programming, geometria, just references to how, different celebrities, have their interactions within different societies and things of that sort. But I'm not the guy that does all of that volume of research. I'm the guy that does a study of history, and I deduce patterns out of things that take place, and make the connections with the similarities of what I see occurring. So that's what I want to speak on here today. Like I said, when it happened, it seemed like, something is funny about this. The truth is, I don't have a lot of time in my my leisurely life to do a whole lot, but I did hear the headline recently, that LeBron James had, just leapfrogged Kobe in the all-time leading scoring title. And there was ESPN highlight about that that I watched. I listened to LeBron's commentary, and when I listened to it, he was not so much in celebration of the achievement that he had. He was speaking more about what Kobe meant to him, and what that scoring title meant, as far as all of the achievements and goals that Kobe had already attained. He made the reference to how he did it in Pennsylvania, which is where Kobe's from. He made the references to the numbers, and being a Laker, and now he's a Laker, and all of this kind of stuff. I found it very interesting that was happening. But when I heard it, it just sounded more like a eulogy rather than, about someone that was living. Honestly, in my gut, that's the way it struck me. So when I woke up and my wife told me the following day that he died in a helicopter crash, I was like, LeBron knew. He had to have known. Had to have been somehow connected, had knowledge of it, directly, indirectly about it. But, I just thought that was really interesting. Now, moving forward, like I said, there's a lot of other, YouTubers and people that's produced content that has shared a lot of the other things that are connected to his story. There was, a cartoon that had, Kobe's image in a helicopter crash holding his, championship trophies. Of course, Kobe is known by the moniker Black Mamba, which is obviously a serpent. Serpent was obviously in the garden with Adam and Eve. There's that connection. There's also the numbers of the jerseys, the 2 and the 4, that adds up to 6, 8 being the number of infinity. There's a lot of that stuff. Now, after he retired, he went on to produce a book, a children's book. I haven't read the book, But, you know, those that have reviewed it have described it as something that describes the power of magic. And, you know, that's something that's steeped in the occult, dark, dark knowledge. Of course, Phil Jackson, his coach at one time, was, you know, called the, you know, the professor or something like that. But he was very philosophical. You know, he studied Zen and all of that kind of stuff. And he was all about the triangle type of, you know, strategy when they played ball. You know, there was the triangle offense that they set up. You know, all the picks and rolls and stuff like that that help the players become, you know, great on the floor. So there's that connection. Also, what I wanted to share is that obviously people talk about people. People talk about the weather. They talk about events. They rarely talk about ideas. And, you know, that's why I said I didn't want to jump out and share this immediately, even though I had the inkling, because any loss of life is tragic. And, you know, he's, you know, left a widow and now, you know, other daughters, you know, without a father now. His influence of, you know, fans and players and, you know, all of those that followed him, you know, they got to deal with the emotions and all of that that's taking place. So, you know, I send love out to their families. And I pray that the Lord uses this event to help people understand just how fragile life is, you know, here now and gone a moment later, you know. So I hope that, you know, God gets glory in this, because it brings back to the front of our minds just how important life is, that you live it to the fullest, and you never know when, you know, you gotta go. But at the same time, I thought in terms of, what if Kobe and his perfectionism, his need to compete and everything else like that, you know, wanted an out, you know, that he would think to himself, I'm only 41 years old and someone's already beating my scoring title. That sucks, you know. I thought of that avenue. Then, of course, you know, just natural causes, you know, mechanical failure of a helicopter that he owned, that he traveled in often. That's another possibility. But then also the avenue of thought that takes me to, you know, ritual sacrifice. You know, I've read where it's been said that, you know, the helicopter went down in the hills in the backdrop of where all of these other, you know, celebrities live in Hollywood. You know, you got the Kardashians and things like that. And also the timing of it. The golden, I think it was the Grammys, Golden Globes, one of them, the 60-second one, you know, that took place the very same day of his death. You know, you invert that number, that was the actual day of his death, the 26th of January. Also interesting detail. Followed by the fact that, you know, there's oftentimes ritual sacrifices that take place of celebrities because they're stars, you know, like a shooting star, like a falling star. Stars rise, star falls. You know, the celebrity, the influence, the notoriety, the god of this world, little God, Satan, will promote somebody that he can influence and steer through this course of life, and you know, bring them down crashing in hellfire, you know. And this is kind of what has taken place. It also is an energy type of vampire, because a lot of people have thought about the death of him, and, you know, they're heartbroken and all of this stuff. But it also is kind of like idol worship. And what idol are they worshiping? They're worshiping just a man, a guy that threw a ball through a hoop for a living, you know. And he did it with a moniker being called a Black Mamba, being named after a serpent. A serpent is nothing like Christ. So, you know, who gets glory in this idol worship as the people mourn this world figure? I would say that the enemy does, the devil himself. So this is taking place while you have these notable events happening. The virus that's spreading, it takes people's minds off of that. It's a distraction method. You also have the Super Bowl coming up. No doubt there will be another dedication tribute to this sports figure. And that'll be more idol worship, more devil worship in a way. And that also reminds me of when Prince died suddenly. And it was the same type of thing. And if you remember watching that video, you could see where, you know, in his symbol, again, his symbol was like, you know, no gender, like male and female, which connects to the Baphomet, you know, having both genitalia. You know, you could see in the backdrop of, you know, the purple colors on the screen, it looked like a devilish type of figure standing there. So, you know, none of this stuff is coincidental. This hero idol worship, these people that are celebrities with fame and power and riches, you know, they've been given the kingdoms of this world because their spiritual father, Lucifer, you know, Satan has given it to them. And just like, you know, the Bible talks about, you know, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. Well, this other shooting star just fell, you know, and came down like, you know, a ball of flames into the earth and exploded. I just say that this really smells of ritual sacrifice. There's always blood that's shed to invoke the demonic spirits to prominence. The people that worship these idols, they give their energy over to the beast type of system, and their god, their little god, the devil, gets glory in this. So, you know, from a human perspective, of course, we hate to see any type of tragedy take place, any type of death in that fashion. But when you look at the deaths of, you know, Prince or Whitney Houston or Michael Jackson, you know, it all fits into the similar pattern of ritualistic, you know, death that has some type of symbology connected to it, whether it be the dates, the times, the numbers, the methods, you know, they do everything in plain sight, but they speak a hidden secret language that's not known to John Q. public, but to those that practice these things, they know what was done and what it was done for. So I'm just putting this thought out there, you know, for y'all to consider. I like what's been shared already through some of the other YouTubers. I just wanted to share my vantage point from this. You know, I was also thinking in terms of, if there's gonna be a capitalistic benefit to this guy's death, then I automatically know that, you know, this was sacrifice, because Tupac sold more records in his death than he did in his life. You know, the publishing rights that Michael Jackson had of the Beatles and things like that, that got turned over back to his handlers. You know, I think even Jay-Z has his hands on some of that stuff. So Black Mamba, the Laker jerseys, you know, Nike actually just said that they've sold out of everything connected to the Bryant brand. So, you know, it's already happening. People are cashing in off of his fame and off of his fallen star status. You know, it's sad. But this is the world that we live in, and these are the games that are played and the powers that are in place. So I pray for those involved. I pray for their loss. I pray for their families. I pray that more knowledge and understanding comes to those that seek greater insight, and you know, that there's a heaven and a hell outcome to this life that we live here, and that's the reality. So that's all I got to share for right now. Thanks for listening. Take care of yourselves. God bless. See you next time. Peace.